everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we are here for week 2 of my TBR cart challenge, so let's get started. Good evening everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the books that I am going to be reading for week 2. Okay, so I don't have a little mini TBR or anything. I'm just pulling the books off my TBR cart, which is sitting over there, and I'm focusing on the top shelf. And the first book that I have pulled off for this week is Stephen Fry's Mythos. Now, if you remember, if you've watched the TBR video, you know that I swapped this out for Troy. Back in the beginning of the year, I was doing Shake, Rattle and Roll, where I roll a dice, find out how many books I'm going to be reading for the month because I wanted to slow my reading down. And I think I had a D12 or D20? D12 I had. So I rolled the dice, and basically that would dictate how many books I was going to read. And then I have an app on my phone which is called Books, iBooks, I think, no, Books Collect, something like that. It's an app where you can shake it and it'll pick a book for you. So I did that, and Troy came up, but I didn't realize that Troy was third in the series because I actually have 3 of Stephen Fry's books, Mythos, Heroes and Troy, on my shelf. Mythos is the first one, so that is the one that I've swapped it out for. So still reading a book off my shelf, but yeah, and it's got like I love that. It's cut out and all the things. So this one is, I'm not too sure about. I got this as a recommendation from someone, and I cannot remember. They said that they really enjoyed it, and a couple other people since have said that they really enjoyed it as well, so I'm looking forward to it. So I grabbed them to put them on my shelf. I do love Greek retelling. Okay, so let's find out what it is about, because I cannot remember for the life of me. It says here on the back, no one loves and quarrels, desires and deceives as boldly or as brilliantly as the Greek gods and goddesses. So this one is, it looks like it's it's got Athena and Pandora as well. So, and Persephone as well in it. So anyway, let's find out what it's exactly about. In Stephen Fry's vivid retelling, we gaze in wonder as wise Athena is born from the cracking open of the great head of Zeus. And following the doomed Persephone into the dark and lonely realm of the underworld, we shiver when Pandora opens her jar of evil torment, and watch with joy as the legendary love affair between Eros and Psyche, I think it is, unfolds. Mythos captures the extraordinary myths for our modern age in all their dazzling and deeply human relevance. So yeah, so it's just all the retellings and all that sort of stuff. There's some pictures and everything in here as well. So it's going to be interesting. I feel like it's probably going to read a little bit like a non-fiction. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So I'm going into it. That's the first time I've read the back of it. I just went on recommendations that people said that I'd love it. So I'm happy that I have it. And I'm going to do my normal thing. I will read some, check in, let you know. If I get busy, I'll come back and do the wrap up and all the things. All right, so I'm going to go and get started. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. All right, so as you would have heard that I was going to, in the past clip, I was going to be reading Stephen Fry's Mythos, but I have started reading it. I'm up to page 53 in this, and I'm just not feeling it at the moment. I just feel like that there's a lot of information in here that I want to really focus on, and I'm feeling a little bit distracted with everything that's going on in my life and everything at the moment. So I decided that I'm going to soft DNF this. I'm going to put it back onto my TBR cart, and then at the end of July, I'm going to make a decision whether I'm going to read it this year or just going to put it away. I was talking a little bit about this on Sprints, and basically I feel like I'm going to end up wanting to binge this, and I do that often with Greek mythology. I just go into it, but this is reading a little bit like a non-fiction, and I'm just not getting the vibe for it at the moment. I want to read it, don't get me wrong. What I have read I've enjoyed and whatnot, but I'm just not absorbing the information that I want to absorb, and I feel like I would like to really annotate this one. I love how Stephen Fry has constructed this book. we're going right back to the birth of Zeus at the moment, and he's about 17 years old, and I'm a little bit past that, but I'm also using the audiobook this for pronunciations and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of footnotes and everything in this as well. And it also, Stephen Fry is also giving us some information about the language that we still use today and where it's derived from. So there is a lot of information in here that I feel like I'm just not ready to absorb that yet. And as I said, I would really like to actually annotate, and I'm just trying to be a little bit more gentle of myself rather than try and push through and get all the books read and all the rest of it. I feel like that this is one that I just need to sit down, and when I'm in a Greek mythology definite mood and ready to annotate and all the things, then I can pull this out. And I've also got heroes, I've also got Troy, and there's a fourth book called Odyssey in this series as well. So I'll get that, and then I'll probably just binge that over a month or two and annotate and all the rest of it. Obviously, I'll read other books in amongst it, but I feel like I just want to absorb all of this information. And it's not new information either, because it is a Greek myths retold. So, yeah, so basically just with a little bit of a, Stephen Fry flair on it. So I'm really happy that I've decided to not slog through and just put this down and come back to it. So you're probably wondering, okay, because I've been trying to read this for the last couple of days, and it just hasn't happened for me. I've only got a couple of pages in at a time. I mean, yes, I could probably just continue on with it, but I'd rather just focus on the TBR cut, like I said I was going to at the beginning of the month. And so it's best that I put that down and I can pick something up. It's not as if I have a lack of choice up there. All right, so I went to my top shelf again, and I pulled this one off, and it's How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. And this is part of the Reese Witherspoon's book club books, and I do collect them from time to time when I see them. Sometimes I can't get them because they're not released here yet and all that sort of stuff. So I do have a wish list that I've curated with all the books from Reese's book club, and I'm just slowly but surely grabbing them. And the ones that I have read, I've enjoyed. I've got a few on my shelf now, and this was one of them. So this was a most anticipated, but I think it also may have been, just the most anticipated. I think this one was. I don't have my notebook in front of me, but anyway, it was on the TBR cut, so it's getting read. So I'm going to tuck into this. It's Friday morning here. I am running a little bit behind, so I'm hoping that I can get this one pretty much sorted today, and if not by tomorrow morning, and then I can move on to a third one for my second weekly vlog. Unfortunately, we've had a DNF, but it is a soft DNF. It's not one that I'm hating or anything like that. I'm just not in the mindset for it. So this one is, I'm not actually sure what this one's about. I just got it because it was on the Reese's book club. So let's have a look in the back, on the back, and see what they've got to say about it. So Tessa Bailey has a blurb on the back: emotional, relatable, and binge-worthy. So we're up for a binge-worthy. I need a quick book right now, right? Helen Zhuang is the best-selling author who can't write her own happy ever after. Grant Shepard is a screenwriter with movie star looks who can't afford a therapist. When the two of them are put together in to adapt Helen's book for television, it should be a dream come true. Helen can start a new life in Hollywood, and Grant can pay his mortgage. Only Grant Shepard is the last person that Helen wanted to see again. She's never forgiven him for what happened 13 years ago. So no one is more surprised than her when sparks begin to fly between them again in the writer's room. Their history is messy, their attraction is undeniable, and soon they are both in too deep. This wasn't meant to be a love story, but aren't the best endings the ones that never you saw coming? So yeah, there we go. And Carly Fortune says, I was hooked from the very first page. The chemistry between Helen and Grant is pure magic. So it looks like I'm going to be in for a fun time read. I'm happy about that. All right, so I'm going to get stuck into that. It's taken me a hot minute to work out what I was going to read this morning. So I've only got about 45 minutes left of the sprint. I did do some other things in that as well. So I can at least get 45 minutes in, and hopefully this will hit the mark. And yeah, I can't see myself DNFing this one. It sounds like a fun time. So I'm going to get on with it, and I'll be back to do a check-in and a wrap-up. I'm just doing a check-in for How to End a Love Story. It's a Reese Witherspoon book club book. It's by Yulin Kwong. And I am around, what am I at, 106 pages in, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm liking the little tension that's in there, the little bit of banter that they have, and basically Grant and Helen, is it Grant? Yes, Grant? Yes, Grant. Shepherd and Helen sort of been thrown together to do some like writing a script for a show for Helen's book, and basically they are just having a great time. They've got a past history together, which is quite a bit of a horrific backstory. Grant was responsible for, well, he hit with his car, hit Helen's sister, and subsequently she passed away from that. And so there was always that bit of tension, and they've not had anything to do with each other for a long time, and then suddenly they're thrown together in this room and they have to get along. So they are struggling a little bit, but at the same time it's adding to the giggles that I'm having and all the rest of it, because, you know, you could just see how it's playing out and all that sort of stuff and whatnot. So, but that is my check-in for this. So, but what has happened is I'm running a little bit behind, and I've ended up on the weekend, and it is Saturday morning here in Australia, and it is the 12th of July, and that means that it has started the Arc Madness that Dee Dee from Virtues of Books is hosting this weekend. It's a 48-hour readathon. There are sprints happening all weekend, and basically I am now participating in that. So I've had to put that book down, and I'll get back to that at the end of the weekend. But while the sprints are happening, obviously there's going to be some sleep involved for me, but I'm hosting a 6-hour session, and so I'm going to be focusing on my NetGalley arcs for that. And so I have quite a number of books. I think there's 4 books at this point, maybe even 5. I was just looking at my list a little while ago, maybe even 5 books that I have ready to go. So what's going to happen is I am going to include in this, because it is part of my July vlogging, even though it's not on my TBR cart, but it is still a TBR of sorts. So this weekend what I'm going to do is focus on the cookbooks that I have and try and get as many of them done as possible. They don't take too long to review, and as I said, I think I've got 3 cookbooks that I am part the way through, and 2 witchy books, if memory serves correctly. So I've got a Wheel of Time. It may even be 3 witchy books that I'm part the way through. I'm pretty sure I've got like maybe 5 pages left of one, so we can call that sort of finished. And it's not so much a witchy book, it's more set around the forest, animals and stuff like that, and it's geared towards kids. And then there's a Wheel of Time one, not Wheel of Time, Wheel of the Year one, which is also geared towards kids. And then there's another one that I have on there, and I can't really remember what that was about because I only just started and then I got interrupted. So I'm going to try and knock those off today, and then when it comes around to my sprints, which is from 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m, that's 6 hours, I'm going to focus on getting a lot of reviews done, because I also had 13 books that I have not reviewed yet. They're all been out for a while and all that sort of stuff. One of them or 2 of them were on the Women's Prize for Fiction. So I'm going to go and have a look, transcribe that, put that as my review for those ones. So that'll be nice and easy. But the other ones, I've got to grab my notes and just, you know, get stuck into writing the sprints. So generally what I do on my channel, especially around arcs and stuff like that, I normally do it, you read it, now review it, sprints, and they usually go for about 6 hours. So this has worked out perfectly, so that's what I'm going to do for that. So that is the plan. So the first book that I am reading, actually the first 2 books that I'm part the way through, one of them is called The Mushroom Hunter's Kitchen. You can see the cover here. And the other one is called The 15-Minute Mediterranean Cookbook, if I've got that name correctly. Now, these 2 have actually expired, but I have them open on the NetGalley reader, one on my tablet, one on the computer. So I'm going to get them all sorted and put away. This one I am this one I'm about 20% of the way through, and the other one I'm at like, I think at like 90% or something like that. There's not much of that to go. And as I said, one of the witchy ones is probably about the same as well. So it's going to be pretty easy. I've just been sort of picking them up, having a bit of a peruse, but then life got busy in the last 2 months. I had meant to have these all done by May, and all that sort of stuff. So these are already out. Yeah, so hopefully I can get these done, get the review done. I'm just going to read them, and then tonight, as I said, I'm going to focus on the review. So I'm taking notes and all that sort of thing, hoo-ha, at the moment. So my plan is to get, I think today I should be able to get 3 books finished, maybe 4, because there's one that's got a little bit more in it that I've got to do, and then tomorrow I should be able to get some more. So this weekend is all going to be about my TBR. I'm not going to do a NetGalley shelf update or anything like that, because I will do that closer to the end of the month, because that will be my TBR video for August, for ARC August. I don't like to sort of mention too many readathons and all the rest of it that cross over, but we have ARC August, and then we've got ARC Madness, and ARC Madness is the one that I am participating in today and tomorrow, and then next month it'll be ARC August, which I am a co-host for as well. So it's going to be a big weekend of getting books done. I do have a list of books that I created a list on my NetGalley shelf called Cookbooks and Easy to Review. So easy to review, in my opinion, is like picture books and stuff like that, because sometimes I get the kid witchy ones and just see how they're laid out and all that sort of stuff, and the information is generally the same from book to book. Something might be just slightly varied and whatnot, so they make for a quick read the more that you read of them and whatnot. And of course I have Speechify to help me as well, so if I've got to go and do something out in the yard or washing or anything like that, I can just put it through Speechify and then I can go. So some of these older ones are definitely through Speechify. That has now changed because we can't extract the files, but it is what it is. But I've still got quite a number of books that I've got to get to anyway. So I'm going to head off and I will check in. The one that I'm reading right now, as I said, is the Mushroom Hunter's Kitchen. So far so good. It's just basically about mushroom, like what I've read so far. It's about, you know, looking for the mushrooms, how to clean them, and cooking them, and what you can use the mushroom liquid for is on the page that I'm on here. You've got pan roasting, oven roasting. So yeah, dry saute, all the different things that you can do with mushrooms. So this is going to be really good. I'm really excited about this one, because the simple fact is I will probably buy this one because I eat a lot of mushrooms and I want to eat a lot of different mushrooms as well and use them in different ways. So this is giving me, and I'll just pull it up. You can see like it gives you wonderful laid out pictures and all that sort of stuff. I'll just get back to some of the pictures. Oh, where did it go? So you can see here, the pictures are just wonderfully, I'm trying to not get reflection, so I'm holding it a little bit weird. So it's giving you different styles of mushrooms as well. It's giving you a visual reference to them as well. It's also got a stunning, like little different wild ones and all that sort of stuff. It's just decided to, this tablet is so old now, I really probably shouldn't be using it. But yeah, so I don't know why that does that, but every now and again it'll just shut down all of a sudden on that. But the pictures are absolutely beautiful. And so yeah, so as you can see, it gives you lovely little pictures throughout. I'm just trying to get to the cover. And it gives you that visual reference as well, which is absolutely fantastic. It talks about all the different types of mushrooms as well in the beginning of the book. And it gives you not all the pictures, but it gives you a couple of pictures so you can look at them for wild mushrooms, and then, you know, cultivated mushrooms and all that sort of stuff. So it goes into, there is a lot of information in here, which is really surprising. I didn't think we could get that much information. Like, the pictures are just stunning. Like, that is a full page picture. And I'm getting closer to the end. Like, you can see here, I think there's just something magical about mushrooms. I don't know, maybe that's the little, you know, my inner child, you know, thinking about fairies and toadstools and mushrooms and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a little bit of nature inspired stuff as well towards the front of the book. This is just stunning. Like, I could just go and walk through that. I love getting out into the forest or out into the scrub, as we call it, and do all the things that we do here in Australia. But yeah, so anyway, let me just bring up the cover of the book. going to let me enlarge it? No, it's not going to. But anyway, that is what the cover of the book looks like. And it's just stunning pictures throughout. They've taken a lot of effort to it. So I am going to head off and get stuck into my books. Hi everybody, and welcome back. All right, I have finished up the Mushroom Hunter's Kitchen, and as you can see the cover here, and I showed you a few pictures earlier on. It's not a bad book. Like, it's got a lot of wonderful recipes. I've added it to my wish list on Amazon because I think it is just be a perfect reference book for, while I don't go hunting for mushrooms, I do buy a lot of different mushrooms, and there's some great recipes in there to really whet the appetite and just broaden your horizons with mushrooms and the dishes that you can cook. While the book was laid out at the beginning, we had lots of pictures and all that sort of stuff, as I was showing you earlier. As we moved on through the book, we had the recipes. There weren't as, there were some line drawings and stuff like that, but there weren't any pictures. So I was a little bit disappointed in that aspect. I would have liked to have seen, you know, the individual recipes made with pictures and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if they've changed that since they've published a book, but right now, as I'm reviewing the arc of this that I got, I know it's a little bit late, only by a couple of weeks, but still it's a little bit late. I have just left it how it is. So I did enjoy it overall. I was just finished up writing my review. Let me just have a look here. So yeah, so as I've said in my review that it's an absolute gem. Like, it's a corker of a book to have in your kitchen library. If nothing else, if you only cook a couple of dishes out of it, it's a great reference book. And also, you know, like if you wanted to cultivate your own mushrooms and all that sort of stuff, you've got a reference there of the different types of mushrooms that you can cultivate, as well as if you're someone that goes out into the forest and forages for mushrooms, truffles, and all that sort of stuff. It's also got all the different types that you can get. There's not an extensive range of pictures to identify them all. There are many other books out there, like a Fields Guide and all that sort of stuff, that I went and had a look on Goodreads. So there's several books that you could get that could be a companion book with this one, for sure. So it was definitely a deep dive into the different types of mushrooms, what you can use them for. What I really did appreciate too, because I don't always have access to a lot of ingredients, I usually have to go down to Brisbane or maybe to an Asian grocery store or something like that. And a lot of time I'll only have access to dry mushrooms as well. So this was really good. With the recipes, there were little tidbits there, what you could substitute for each recipe and everything like that. So I've given it a solid 5 stars because I think it's just, one, it's an absolute corker of a reference book. 2, the pictures that were in it were really beautiful and well laid out. There's 120 mouthwatering recipes that you've got in there, so you will want for nothing when it comes to your mushroom, you know, diving into those mushrooms and exploring different ways to use them and all that sort of stuff. It's very much a wealth of information, and that's why I've given it a 5-star rating. So, you know, normally if I'm rating a book and it doesn't have pictures to do with the dishes and all that sort of stuff, that's sort of a deal breaker for me because I like to have that visual representation. But because of the volume of references in this and information about mushrooms and all that sort of stuff, I feel like this is still a solid 5-star read, even though that those bits and pieces aren't in there. All right, the next one that I am rating, which I have also finished, I only had several pages left to go in this one. I thought I actually had more than what I did. This is called the 7-ingredient Mediterranean cookbook. This is 100 plus simple, vibrant recipes. And this is put out by Cedar Press. I've actually reviewed quite a few from Cedar Press, and they're known for the simplicity of their cookbooks, of the ones that I have reviewed. This one is no different, although this one does have a few beautiful pictures in it. It is laid out like we've got a beautiful tile picture there. We've got a contents page. We've got an introduction, and that's pretty much all we've got. And then it goes into some of these larger pictures. Now, not all the pictures match up with the pages that you're on. Some of the recipes are further on in the book, but you can see they're quite vibrant and absolutely beautiful. And, you know, of course, it's laid out in starting with appetizers and working its way through to desserts. Now, this book actually claims to be 7 ingredients Mediterranean. While I really enjoyed this book and I've gone through it and checked out all the things, the one thing I did start to notice, as you can see there's some pictures, I did start to notice that not all recipes are complete. And what I mean by that is we have a recipe, for instance, I'm just trying to think, I think it was roast chicken, and I'm just trying to find it because, yeah, so this one is roasted stuffed sardines, but right down the bottom, and it only has 7 ingredients in the stuffed sardines, but down the bottom it says, you know, you prepare this with a tahini sauce. See recipe on page 209. Therefore, this is not a 7 ingredient recipe, in my opinion. Now, this is just my humble opinion. I feel like that was a little bit misleading, and there was a couple of recipes like that where you went to sources. Now, the one thing I forgot to have a look at, because I'm just writing up my review now, is if it actually does have, yeah, it doesn't actually have a sources. So when we're looking at the contents, that we've got sides and salads, we've got entrees, appetizers and snacks and desserts. Okay, so there's no real like main meals or anything like this. This is all very much like your tapas sort of thing, like, except it's Mediterranean, which, you know, it still falls under that anyway. So yeah, so there's a lot of different cuisines from different countries around the Mediterranean. For the most part, they do follow what the title says, 7 ingredients. It does follow that, but as I said, there's a couple in there where we've got some chicken breast and I'll have a pine nut sauce, or as we see before, I had a tahini sauce, but it was on a separate page. But there's no index in the front to say that there's sauces on a separate page, like in a separate section. So that disappointed me a little bit. Overall, though, the book is well laid out. You've got some beautiful pictures. They're usually labeled. Not all the pictures match up with the recipes that you just read. So this one, for instance, this is on the NetGalley reader, so it doesn't actually sort of give me the page numbers. Oh yeah, there we go. So page 13 has the nuts, the Sicilian bar nuts, but that was on page 15. So while sometimes they match up, sometimes they don't. And further on, as you go into the book, there was a couple of ones where it was like on page, 160 and I was only on page 80 or whatever the case may be, right? So that was just sort of how it was coming along. So it also gives you the active time and the total time for cooking. So yeah, so for instance, this one here is roasted stuffed sardines. It serves 2, so it gives you the serving size. Active time of preparing it, so that's another way of saying preparing. I've noticed that a lot of books are now starting to use this term, active. So yeah, so 20 minutes, and then overall the total time is 45 minutes, including cooking. Everything is laid out very simply, so you don't have overcrowding on the page or anything like that. You can see there. I can't show you any other way except on the tablet. But again, it says down the bottom, as needed to taste, extra virgin olive oil, salt, paprika, cumin, tahini sauce, see page 209. So this is where I struggled with that. Like this should have been on here, because the last thing you want to do when you're cooking is flicking from, like, you're on page 19, then you got to go all the way to 209. So this has actually brought my rating down, because this is, while it is easy to navigate, it's not that easy to navigate. And I've pretty much said as much in my about the recipes not actually being 7 ingredients. And I think it's a little bit cheeky of the author to do that, because it doesn't make it very easy to navigate. It's almost to the point where, okay, so I want to make these roasted stuffed sardines, but I'm also going to need the tahini sauce as well. So now I need to go and either take a screenshot of that so I can look at it on my phone, or I need to write this recipe out, including the tahini sauce, because I can tell you now that sardines and tahini sauce go together beautifully. They pair just divinely. So yeah, and just looking at these recipes, there's a few in here that I've made in the past before, because I love Mediterranean diet. I do eat a lot of that, and Asian inspired food. But for the most part, from like quick weekday sort of meals, I always sort of gravitate towards the fresh food of the Mediterranean. And I don't necessarily go in for dips and all that sort of stuff, but I definitely look at different things for it. So as I said, I've given it a 3.75 out of 5 stars because I just feel like it was a little bit misleading. But you know, it's still a solid cookbook, so I didn't want to mark it down too far because it was only me really nitpicking, and I'm happy that I've given this rating to it. And yeah, so now I'm moving on to the next one, which is another one that I'm part the way through. This one is also a Mediterranean cookbook, and this one is called let me just bring it up. The next one, it is as I said, it is a Mediterranean one as well. I am going to read it on my tablet because the simple fact is that I want to see the colors of it and all that sort of stuff. Where is it? So this is 15 minutes of Mediterranean diet cookbook for beginners. Now don't be tripped up by the word diet because the simple fact is that so this has been archived, so I'm a little bit late for this one, but the word diet is in there because Mediterranean diet, this is how people describe it, because it is actually a diet of peoples, right? So basically it can trick a few people and they get, oh, you know, it's a diet book, rah, rah, rah. It's not. It's just a way of describing the Mediterranean food. Yes, there should be better ways to describe it and all that sort of stuff. And the thing is, though, it does have a 4-week plan in this as well. It's got full color pictures according to the cover and everything. It's got full color pictures and all that sort of stuff. But this is geared towards beginners. So what I'm going to be looking for this is, 1, is it easy to navigate? 2, do the recipes flow nice and easily? Is it set out in sections, you know, such as appetizers and starters right through to desserts? It also has a 4-week meal plan, and it's got some bonus content in this one as well in the way of a QR code. So let me just bring up the picture. I would have liked to have been able to bring it up, but you can see there it looks fresh and inviting and all that sort of stuff. As I said, it's got a 4-week plan in it. So I'm going to get to, I'm about, I think 35% the way through this. It's pretty easy to navigate, and the recipes are flowing. This is by Yolanda Blake as well, so you can go and check that out. I mean, eating a Mediterranean diet anyway, you're bound to lose weight if you've had a pretty poor diet and then you switch to eating fresh fruit, veg, and meat products and all that sort of stuff. You will end up inadvertently dropping weight anyway because it is a very healthy way. And as you can see on that cover, like that is what it looks like. It's got olives, cucumbers, and cherry tomatoes in it, and some red onion with a little bit of basil, or basil as we call it here. And yeah, that looks fresh and inviting, and it's just a wonderful way to eat, and that's how I like to eat and all that sort of stuff. So this came out in January of this year. So yeah, I'm a little bit late for this one, but you know what, it's on there. Let me get it off, and yeah, and then that way I can just get stuck into it. Now let me just go and find it on my Kindle, and we'll have a look at a couple. It might take a little while. We'll have a look at a couple of the pictures that are in it so you can get a fair idea of what it looks like. Okay, so I've just opened up the book just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So the first one we're looking at is breakfast. So we've got a nice little title page there. Of course, this is, you know, just the ARC, so it may not be formatted correctly for my Kindle, but you can see the recipes are in there. They're very simply laid out, but they tell you what your yielding is of your serving, how long it takes to prepare, and if there's any cooking time. It gives you the ingredients and then the directions. And then down the bottom, and what I really like and appreciate in a cookbook, where it gives you the calories for each serving and then the nutritional information. I think that if a cookbook doesn't have that these days, they're really doing the consumer a disservice, because a lot of us really want to know what those macros are and all that sort of stuff, you know, whether it's got high sodium or anything like that. So, you know, especially for people that have heart conditions and all that sort of stuff, a lot of them follow the Mediterranean diet. So this is really key that this has this in here. And this looks absolutely delicious for breakfast. That is a Greek yogurt with honey and nuts. And I used to eat this all the time for dessert and all that sort of stuff when I was a kid. I still have it now, although I've switched out the honey for a little bit of maple syrup from time to time and throw in some strawberries. And I'll have that as a dessert because I love Greek yogurt. So yeah, and very easy. And as you can see, as we just navigate through, it just gives you a picture and of what the thing is. And I really like that about cookbooks, when they've got a little picture. As you can see, it doesn't have to be a full page spread or anything like that, but include it, you know, a nice small picture, so you can at least get that visualization of what is happening. And that's what I love about this book, and the fact that it's got all the nutritional information and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of this stuff you've got, if you do end up getting this book, a lot of this stuff you've probably seen before, but then you'll have it all in one place. Now, the title of this book is 15 minutes, Mediterranean food. So, and I can see from those breakfasts, they wouldn't even take 15 minutes. That yogurt one take a total of 10 minutes, if that. So you know that you're going to get a few that are going to be a lot quicker, and all the rest of it. And if I remember correctly, I'm about 55% of the way through, I think. Let me just go back. Yeah, this is where I'm up to. So I'm at 57% of the way through. And again, we've come into what looks like dinners or maybe sides. This one is, I can't remember where I was up to, because I was reading it back at the beginning of the year. So yeah, I don't remember seeing that one. So I'll probably go back 2 or 3% on that. But that's broccoli and chickpeas. That's protein and fiber right there as a good side, which is really, really good as well. And again, you know, preparation time 5 minutes, 10 minutes cooking, serves 4. So each recipe, from what I can see, serves 4, which is absolutely fantastic for, you know, someone like myself who is a big vegetable eater where my family's not. I can cook up on 2 times a week, and I've got my sides for the week out of this book. So I'm going to continue on with this, and I'll come back and wrap up and have a look at it. I'm going to have a closer look at the 4-week plan, and I'm going to make sure that the have a look and see what the QR code does, if it's working or not, because it's supposed to give you a bonus cookbook as well. So that's exciting if you buy it and you get the bonus one. All right, I'm going to head out, and I'll be back to talk a little bit about the 15-minute Mediterranean diet book. Hey everybody, and welcome back. All right, I managed to lose the footage for this. I can't seem to find it anywhere. So at the end of the day, the QR codes worked perfectly. They gave you some bonus celebration, so around Christmas, Easter, and all that sort of stuff, and Mediterranean pictures. It does have a 4-week plan, which was really easy to find the recipes and everything, especially in the Kindle edition. It jumps and does all the things that it does. The hyperlinks all worked. So I actually rated this one a 5-star read for me, because as you've seen in the past clip, there were plenty of pictures that you could see with each individual recipe. We also had the fact that we got the macros, the breakdown, the calories, the fat, etc., etc. And so for me in a cookbook, that's really key, because I need to, you know, watch what I eat. Having suffered with high cholesterol in the past, I really try not to eat poorly, so the Mediterranean diet works for me. So that's why I sort of gravitate towards these books. So it was beautifully laid out. I've given it 5 stars, worth every cent. I have this on my Kindle. However, I will be buying the physical copy of it, because I think it'll be a great resource to have in my kitchen, especially on those days when I'm super busy. Like, as the title says, a 15 minutes Mediterranean beginner. And if you're really time poor, it's given you a 4-week plan, so you can work out your 4 weeks for your eating and everything like that, and you can do everything from breakfast right through to desserts. So as I said, a 5-star for me. For the rest of the weekend, I ended up getting all of the books that I talked about here today, plus the 11 that I had to review. I got them all reviewed as well and posted on Goodreads. So if you want to see any of the reviews, you can go and check them out. I only do reviews on NetGalley Arcs. Everything else has a star rating. I'm going to try to get a little bit better at doing reviews on individual things, but for now it's just NetGalley Arcs on the Goodreads. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Good morning everybody, and welcome back to Dusty Book Sniffers. Although I am in the sewing room today, but I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the book that I finished last night, and the book that I'm going to start for this the remainder of this vlog. So as you know, I DNF'd Mythos earlier on in the week, and I ended up picking up How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong, and this is a little interesting book. It's a little enemies to lovers, I guess, you know. a little bit of close proximity because they were working together and they had a bit of a traumatic history, the couple in this. So we're following the story of Helen and Grant. Grant is a quite successful screenwriter, and screenwriter, and Helen is a novelist, and basically her book has been picked up to be optioned, and now they're, working out what they're going to write for the screenplay, for the screen, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the terminology always trips me up because there's particular terminology, and for some reason that just does not stick in my brain. But yeah, so she can't write her own happy ever after, it says on the back, and he's a screenwriter with movie star looks and can't afford a therapist. Now they have quite a dark and stormy history. And I at first thought it might have been a love history, like high school lovers or something along those lines. It turns out that, it is actually early on in the book, and I just didn't put two and two together. I just, for some reason, had it in my mind that this was, they were in a past relationship and all the rest of it, but their relationship, there wasn't. They went to school together and all that sort of stuff, but he was responsible for the death of her sister, and then we find out what actually really happened with that and how that has affected Helen's life going forward. And we were at the funeral and all that sort of thing. So it was like the storyline was really good and really intriguing, actually, like how they were going to navigate this. And I think that Yulin did a pretty good job with it, because I feel like it was somewhat realistic. I mean, obviously there would be more intense feelings than that if it was a real life situation, but it was somewhat realistic, and I had a good time while I was reading it. So it didn't put me off in the way it was written, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to say this without spoilers, and it's so hard when you've read all the book and you just want to talk about it and you've got to actually think about what you're saying, because you know that you'll give spoilers away. But it is called How to End a Love Story, and basically they start to get hot and heavy, and then, like with most things in Hollywood, they put a contract in place, if you will, that they are just going to be, getting it on while they're in Hollywood and working together and all the rest of it. But when it comes time for them to go their separate ways, they just go their separate ways. But like with all things like those contracts, it gets messy and things happen, and yes, that's all I'm going to say. It does get a little bit messy. I thought that this book probably went a little bit too long. There was a section there that I thought could have probably been left out. I didn't think that it really added to the story. I'm not going to say what it was, but it has to do with the angst around her parents and whatnot, and even like the time frame between the two main characters as well, like all that sort of thing. So and I don't want to, because I really enjoyed this book. I've given it a 3.75 star rating. I had a really good time while I was reading it. There were a couple of laugh out loud moments, but as I said, that was probably my only negative, because the simple fact is it just went a little bit too long. It comes in at nearly 370 pages, I think. Yeah, 372 pages, and I just think the timeline between the two main characters, part of the timeline could have been shortened a little bit, and we wouldn't have probably had those extra, I reckon around 300 pages it would have been good. It could have done with a little bit more editing, in my opinion. Other than that, I had a great time with it. It's 3.75. It's a great book that you could read on a flight, on a train trip. Even if you had it on Kindle, you could, just go down the park with the kids and you could enjoy this. There's not a lot of stuff that you have to keep a track of or anything like that. It's pretty much just straight up Helen and Grant's story with some side characters that are in there, which they added to the story, but not at the same time. Like, they weren't strong side characters, so it definitely was a main character focus. And it also touched on a couple of being the children of immigrants. I felt like that probably could have been touched on a little bit, but for what it is, it's pretty good. I found that some of the spots I thought, that could have been a little bit better. But as I said, overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I've read it, and now it's off my TBR cut, so yay for me. I would recommend this to anybody that likes enemies to lovers with a little bit of banter, a little bit of a stretched out story. You will probably really love this because you'll like to stay in the story. And I must say, like, I liked Grant, and he was pretty cool. He knew what he wanted. Helen, I felt like, was a little bit flaky at times, but she was also navigating parents as well, and from the tragic history that Grant and her family had. So yeah, and there's a lot of talk about her sister who passed and all that sort of stuff. And I will say also that there is talk of suicide in this, so if you are sensitive to that subject, then you probably don't want to pick this up. So yeah, or wait until you're in a better frame of mind before you're picking it up, because I think overall it is a story of finding one's true mate, love, all the things, and that always gives you the warm and fuzzies. But there's some little bit tough topic in there as well. But 3.75 from me. Glad I read it, glad it's off the TBR cart now. This was an anticipated, it's a Reese Witherspoon, because I tend to read their books that are on the book club. I do believe that it may have only been those things. I don't think this was on Buzzwordathon, but anyway, it was on the TBR cut. It's now off. The next book that I'm going into, which I'm starting this morning, I'm going to sit down with Cuppa for a bit and read this, is The Therapist by Helene Flood. This one, it seems like it's going to be like a murder mystery come thriller maybe. She's a therapist. Obviously, her husband, I believe, is also a therapist as well. But she receives a voicemail from... So basically on the back, it's just got, at first, it's a lie that hurts. A voicemail from her husband tells Sarah he's made it to a holiday cabin, but then she gets a call from his friend and reveals he's never even arrived there. She tries to carry on as normal, teasing out her client's deepest fears, but as the hours stretch out, her own begin to surface. And when the police finally take an interest, they want to know why Sarah deleted the voicemail. To get to the root of Singard's disappearance, Sarah must question everything she knows about their relationship. So I have started this. I'm on page 14 so far. So basically, he's woken up in the morning. He's left. She was quite sleepy and all the rest of it. And they work from home. They created their own therapy business. And basically, they're also renovating a house as well that they inherited from his grandparents. Or his grandfather, and basically that's all I really know at this point. She was looking for something, and he has obviously taken. She can't find it, so she thought that was odd because he was going to ski, and this information is not in the house anywhere that she can, and she was trying to remember because she was sleepy when he left and all the things. So I'm looking forward to getting this one. This one was from January, TBR, that I didn't get to. So this one's coming in at, where's the page number? It's 334 pages. So it shouldn't take me too long. I do have it in Speechify as well. So I now have my bookmark, my book. My cuppa is in there waiting for me. I'm going to be walking in and out and all the rest of it, but I'm going to sit down, drink my coffee, and probably get to page 30 or 40 in this one. We're also sprinting today, so I should be able to get this done in sprints today, as well as get some stuff done in the studio. So today I am making some bags and whatnot. So I'm in the process of sewing bits and pieces together. I've made a mistake on this, so I've got to unpick that. We've got this part done, so that's the back. This is the front. This is a vinyl bit where people can store stuff in, and this will be the outside of it. It has little pockets in it. I'll insert some pictures here of what it looks like from another project that I did. And that's what I'm going to be working on today. I have 2 of them to do. I also have a grime guard, which is a guard that goes around fabric for cross stitch. And I've got a heap of other fabrics that are coming in that I want to make some book covers, like book holders for, which the book cover, I don't have it out here. I find that it's really good. It holds my tablet, it holds a book, it holds my Kindle, bookmarks, and it's even got a zipper spot for some annotating and stuff like that. I'm going to go and put this back on my shelf because I've talked about it now, and I'm going to sit down and start reading this one, and I will check in as I get into the story. Hi everybody, and welcome back. All right, I am reading The Therapist. It is by Helene Flood. I don't know what I think about this book. I'm in the car, I'm about to head off, and I'm a fair chunk of the way through. I'm up to page 213. And I've just been reading it while I've been working today and whatnot. But anyway, we have Sarah, who has received a voicemail from her husband saying that she is that he is already at the cabin with his friends and all that sort of stuff. But then she gets a phone call saying no, he's not. And so there's an investigation underway at the moment, and it's really weird. Like, we're in her head, and she is a therapist, and we're going through the things of her as she's doing her therapy with her clients and all that sort of stuff. And she's, you know, she's worried about her husband, which his name is Singard, and yeah, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But anyway, he has, you know, he's disappeared and no one knows where he is and all the things. So she's really worried, and she's running through all the scenarios in her head and all that sort of stuff. The police are now investigating and all that sort of stuff, all that goes with that. So it's just a typical sort of murder mystery type, you know, police procedural type thing. Not even police procedural. It's because the police are there, but yeah, there's like, and something's just not sitting right. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's going to be the plot twist in it, but I'm just like, there's talk about her mum and how she died early and all this sort of stuff, like of a disease and of the mind. And, you know, she's talking about her being a therapist. She's talking, you know, we're swinging back, and then it's, you know, about them when they were younger, and she had an affair and all this sort of stuff. And she's starting to, like, as this is playing out, she's starting to put two and two together of things that were happening in her house when her mother was ill and all that sort of stuff, and what her father was up to. He's a professor. So there's all this stuff going on at the moment. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if, you know, like, if this is, you know, like that. I don't want to say what it is, but at the same time, I sort of want to, because, like, I think that's what it is, and I just don't know what to do because there's no one else reading this book, and I can't talk to anybody else about it. So it's like, but yeah, like, I think I've worked out what's going on, because there's all these things that are happening. So she thinks that there's someone in the house after her partner's gone missing. You know, there's things that were missing. Now that they're back, then, you know, she's tried to ring him and all this sort of thing. So you don't know whether she is making it up in her head or whether it's actually stuff that's happening. And so you feel really disorientated the whole time you're reading this book. Well, I do anyway. I mean, other people who's read it probably didn't feel as disorientated, but I'm feeling really disorientated because I'm just going along. I'm not trying to work out what's going on or anything like that. So, and I'm just going along with it. So she's quite confused at the moment, and so you're confused as the reader, and that's how I'm feeling. And I think it's done well, because I'm like, in a way, I'm sort of getting frustrated as she's getting frustrated too. I'm like, surely, like, the police don't seem to be taking her seriously either. So, like, and she, you know, the police turn up, she comes screaming out of the house in one scene. She's in her dressing gown, screaming that someone's in the house because photos are moved on the fridge and all that sort of stuff. So there's like that psychological thing happening with it as well. So you don't know what's true. You don't know, like, and all that sort of stuff. And you're just very confused and disorientated throughout this book. I'm really liking it. I am sitting on about 3.75 at the moment. I don't know if it's going to be a 4-star. And if it ends badly, it'll probably go down. But it would be a great book, like, to just fall into on a plane, train, whatever. That seems to be the theme of the books this week. But as I said, I'm up to page 213. 13. I can't give you chapter numbers or anything like that. It's about 64% of the way through, but I'm really enjoying it. And like could the truth about what happened be inside her head? And so you've got that's on here, you know, like it's a tense, atmospheric, psychological thriller that gets under your skin. And I'd have to agree with that because I'm feeling like I need to know. So I'm about to drive for 20 minutes and listen to some more of it on Speechify. And then I've got to drive back home again once I get to our destination. Tea's getting cooked for me, so I might be able to sit there and read a little bit. And I'm hoping that I'll get this finished tonight. So you will get a wrap up from me in the morning. If I manage to get a lot of it finished, because there's only, what am I, did I say 213? So there's 333. So there's like about 150 pages left. That's very bad math, but anyway. So yeah, I will let you know how I go when I'm finished it and if I was right without giving anything away. It's so hard. It is so hard to talk about books like this without giving stuff away. All right, I'm going to head off. I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are, and I will check in with you once I'm finished this book. Well, hi everybody and welcome back. All right, I'm here to wrap up for The Therapist by Helene Flood. Unbeknownst to me, this is actually a translated work. I did not read anything about this, but it is actually translated from the Norwegian, I believe it is. And let me just double check that. Yes, Norwegian to English translation. And that translator is Alison McLeod. And she did a fabulous job translating this. It was well written, in my opinion. It basically is just a domestic thriller. It didn't end the way I thought it was, and what I was saying in the last clip about I think it's going to go a particular way, and all that sort of stuff, I honestly thought as I was reading it, and I can say this now because it's not a spoiler, her mother had Alzheimer's, and because all this stuff was happening, things were moving, things were there, then they weren't there, and all that sort of stuff, I thought that they were going to say that she had Alzheimer's and she was regressing back and that she had actually done something in her past or something along those lines. So that's what I thought. That's not what happened. So it's not a spoiler, but that was just me overthinking things, because now that I think about it, there weren't really that many clues. It was just that's where my brain went. So anyway, I finished it last night, which I'm really glad that I did, because today I'm going to be starting next week's vlog. So I'm a little bit behind, but I'm still okay. This is because I read a whole heap of stuff for NetGalley as well. I think it was 4 books for NetGalley, which were just cookbooks and stuff that I'll just drop in and have a little bit of a talk about each one as I'm going, probably while I'm doing the editing side of things, because I didn't really do intros to them and all that sort of stuff, because they were, so I've only really done the novels and whatnot. So anyway, I really enjoyed it. It's a domestic psychological thriller that is centered around a couple named Surgeon and Sigurd, sorry, and Sarah, and they are, one is he is an architect and has his own business. He's just gone into partnership with his friends, and Sarah is a therapist, hence it's about her. So it's basically a story of her reality sort of feeling like it's unraveling as you're going through. So as I said in the last clip, I was very confused, I was very frustrated, but I think I was meant to feel that way because that's how the main character was feeling at the time. Like no one was listening to her, nothing was getting resolved or anything like that, and she was super frustrated, and all the things that come with that when people don't listen to you and whatnot. So it kept me engaged. I pretty much started this yesterday and finished it yesterday, so I'm pretty happy with that. I did listen to it. I did do some immersive reading at the beginning and at the end of the day, like I like to do, but I've given this a 3.5 star rating. Yes, it has gone down because I felt like the ending was a little, not rushed as such, but it felt like it was a little bit too quick and a little bit too convenient for me. That's what brought it down in the star rating. But this would be a perfect book to read if you were flying somewhere, or you're traveling on a train, or you're a passenger in a car or something like that where you had some time, or even just a great vacation read, because you don't have to think too much about it. It's, you know, a typical psychological domestic thriller, and you'll have a fun time with it. It'll keep you engaged and all the things, and that's what you want. And I don't generally rate thrillers very high anyway, because you know, once you've started reading a lot of thrillers, they sort of start to feel a little bit like a carbon copy. But it still had a nice little element in it. It had nice little twists in it. It had you guessing. It had you confused. It had you frustrated. And I think that means that this book actually hit the spot. So 3.5 star, because normally I rate thrillers 3 stars for the most part. So it had a little bit of something extra, and it's also translated work, which I probably could have had this for a Norwegian book in my translated works. So yeah, so I'm really happy with it, and I'm glad that I've pulled this off the shelf and it's off the TBR cart, and now I can put it back on my shelf and mark it as read. All right, that is it from me today and for this week. I'd like to just say thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any more TBR cart challenge videos that I've got coming out, which I should have another 1 or 2 come out. What date is it today? The 18th. So I've got another, yeah, I'll probably get 1 or 2 out before the end of the month or into next month, before we're down for Shark August, which is going to be a lot. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So, yeah, I don't know what books I'm going to read. You'll have to keep an eye out. So the best way to do that is to be subscribed to the channel and click it to all notifications. And then that way you're not going to miss that TBR video and future videos that I put up. And while you're there, hop, skip, and a jump over to the like button. Give me a thumbs up as well. Leave me a comment down below. Have you read any of the books that I talked about in the vlog this week? And if you have, let me know whether it was a yay or nay from you, or what your star rating was. And of course, I will see you all in the next video. So don't forget, keep turning those pages, and I'll see you next time. Bye.